In this video, we're going to talk about centroid, which is a special type of a center of triangles. So centroids are created by the medians of a triangle. A median is a segment that joins the vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So there's a nice picture at the top of the page in color, and let's fill in our notes down here. So your vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So let's write that out. Vertex, I've labeled in orange, and the midpoint of the opposite side I labeled in purple. And then the median is right there through the middle. And it's the three medians of a triangle is what creates the centroid. So the three medians of a triangle intersect at a point called the centroid. We're going to use the diagram at the left to answer the following questions. So first we're asked to list all the medians. So if we go from the vertex A to the midpoint of the opposite side, we would have a median called AE. So let's list that one out. Then another median would be from B to F, from the vertex B to the midpoint of the opposite side, which is F. And then the third one would go from C, which is our third vertex, to the midpoint of the opposite side, which was D. The centroid name would be just that letter they've put right there at that point in the middle of the triangle, so that's just P. And it says, what special properties exist for each median? So for each median, notice it's divided into two pieces. One piece of each median is longer than the other piece, and it has a special relationship. The longer piece is 2/3 of the total median length, and the shorter piece is 1/3. And so let's write that out and say that if we were to multiply the short piece, which on this first median would be PE, so 2 times PE, that would give us AP, that longer piece. That's the relationship that they have. Or you can think of it as the longer piece is 2/3 of the total, and the short piece is 1/3 of the total. So let's go around the figure and label that for each of these medians. So I'm just going to back up and label the next one. So DP is the short piece of DC, and then PC is that longer piece. So it's 1/3, 2/3 is the relationship. So let's write out 2 times DP would equal PC. All right, and let's just do that for the last median as well. So we have BP is the longer piece, so that's 2/3 of BF, the total, and then PF is 1/3 of the total. So 2 times that shorter piece, which was PF, would give us the longer piece of the median, which is BP. Okay, so let's use these properties to answer some questions below. So we're going to do 3 examples of centroid and what we can do to figure things out. So if P is the centroid of triangle JKL, so they'll either tell you that or they'll label the figure in a way that you can determine that it's the centroid. And they've told us that JK is 22. So let's label the total side JK was 22. KN was 13, and OL is 18. That's the information they gave us. And they said find each missing measure. So KM is on JK, like it's half of that side, because remember we have each of these medians touches the midpoint of the opposite side. So M, N, and O are the midpoints of those sides. And so we know JM would equal MK, and they would each be 11 since that's half of 22. So we can say KM equals 11 based on what they've told us. And then NL, so the same thing would happen over here. We know that that's the midpoint. N is the midpoint of KL. So NL would also equal 13. And then they asked us to find KL, which is the total side. So we would say 13 plus 13 would give us 26 for KL. And then for JO, we know that JO would equal OL, and they would both be 18. And then JL would be 18 plus 18, so the total would be 36. All right, so let's look at another one. Example 2 tells us if Z is centroid of triangle TUV and TZ equals 60. So let's label TZ equals 60, XZ equals 28, and WZ equals 25. And they asked us to find each missing measure. So ZV is on the red one, so let's label that one. ZV is part of the median XV or VX, and it is the longer piece of that median. So the short piece was 28. The longer piece would have to be 2 times 28. So we would get 56. All right. Then they asked us for ZY. ZY is part of this blue median TY. And we know TZ equals 60, which is the longer piece of the median. So this shorter piece would be half of that. So that would have to be 30. I'm just going to write that was half of 60. That's where I got 30 from. And then ZU is on the median UW or WU. Notice it's the short piece of the median, so the longer piece of the median would need to be twice that size, twice that length. So that would be 50. And then they asked us for TY. So if we look back at TY, that's the total median, and we know that we have 60 as the longer piece of that median, and 30 was the shorter piece. So together they would add up to 90. And then XV is our red median in this case. So we would add up 28 plus 56, which is just 84. Okay, so let's look at one more example about centroid. It says if D is the centroid, it's nice that they just tell you that, is the centroid of triangle ABC, and DE equals 6. And it says find F, BE, and BD. So we know that this median BE has a long piece and a short piece. So the short piece was given to us and it equals 6. So the longer segment of that median would have to be twice that size. So 2 times 6 equals 12 for BD. So let's write that over here. BD equals 12. And then the total BE would be a combined total of 6 plus 12, because you can just add those together. So 6 plus 12 will give us 18. All right, so that's some examples of centroid.